Hey you guys, it's Chrissy, and today I have a special guest. It's my husband Ryan. So today we are going to talk about what experience we went through to really get on board with paying more attention to our finances. Our we don't really have an approach for it, but we can talk a little more about our experience and the mistakes we made along the way. So maybe that could help you get your spouse on board, or maybe it'll just help you learn what not to do in the process of trying to get your spouse on board when you're trying to start paying more attention to your finances. So here we go. So say hi, Ryan.
Hey everybody, hey YouTube world, or Facebook, wherever she decides to post this, I'm not sure.
YouTube. um, but so I know I made a lot of mistakes when trying to get you on board, but let's just talk about a little bit about the backstory of the reasons we started paying attention to our finances. So I know you came home one day and you were talking about a conversation you had with your coworker that.
Well, being that I told the story, do you want me to tell the story?
Oh, sure, go
I've
right
already done
ahead.
that. So, um, quick backstory on me, real quick. Both Chrissy and I really didn't come from uh, a lot of money. We really didn't. So, our perceptions of what money was get it, have it, spend it. It's pretty much how it was for us. Um, and that's kind of how we lived our life. Decent amount of credit cards. I never personally had credit cards, just never worked toward it. But when I met Christina, she had a decent amount. So we were real comfortable with debt. Um, so we kind of lived from paycheck to paycheck. We had it, and we had fun. I mean, there's some positive aspects of spending all your money that you have immediately because you get instant gratification on things. And then if you don't even got enough money for it, then you go put it on a credit card, what have you. So there was a that was our specific lifestyle. Um, and then I went into sales. I went into a sales position. I work at a Ford dealership, and I worked next to guys that were working full commission. And these guys, I mean, they make decent money. However, being a full commission salesperson, you do have to live your life slightly different. You don't know if you're gonna have a great month or if you're not gonna have so much of a great month. So um, one of the gentlemen, he had built up a nest egg, and I watched him have a not so great month. We were selling cars, but it wasn't the best month we've ever had. And everyone else on the sales floor was, and they're panicking. They're trying to figure out how to get the next sale. Everyone's, trying to, figure things out. And I watch him, and he's just relaxed. He's just sitting there on his phone, texting on Facebook, and not really stressing the fact that he's not selling a bunch of cars that month. So I ask him, I say, hey, man, well, you don't seem to be stressed out. He said, why is that? He says, well, I got my savings, a reserve. If I ever have to tap into it, I tap into it. I was like, interesting. So I go home with this idea. It's been sitting on me for the whole day. And then I go up to Christina and I say, hey, um, how come we don't have a savings account? And she starts, giving me all this stuff. And I'm like, I felt like it was the adult thing to have, was to have in a savings account. There's been times in the past with my mom, she had a small little savings account and we had to tap into it occasionally. But it was just that thing that just I just thought we should have. We're getting older. We're claiming to be adults, and I just thought that we should have a savings account. Lo and behold, that got her wheels spinning. So,
Yeah, so in my idea of a savings account was always, well, if we run into an emergency, we always have our credit cards to use. But that wasn't a great approach to use. But when Ryan came home that day and he was like, I really think we should have a savings account, I was like, well, I mean, we spend everything we make, so we need a plan, Every time we did try to save anything in our savings, it would just come right back out. So we did have a savings, but every time we would put something in there, we would just take it right back out to use for something else. So it was just we just really didn't have a plan for our money or a plan to have a savings account. So I heard of this guy named Dave Ramsey from church, and I started looking into his financial principles, and I did all this research on my own, without Ryan. So I did all this research behind, I wouldn't say behind his back, but kind of just on my
It's
own
behind my
time.
back.
Kind of on my own time. And when he was at work or whenever he wasn't around, I was just, watching Dave Ramsey videos or watching his YouTube channel. And I was just always trying to learn more about this. And I kind of just was like, this makes so much sense. We need to be doing this. And I brought it up to Ryan. um, and he just kind of, well, I guess you just want to say how you felt when.
Yeah, so I would see her, on her phone, at the edge of the sofa on the other side. She's just watching these videos, and I hear her, she's like, oh, okay. She's just taking her little notes and all that stuff. And um, I didn't really know what she was doing. I mean, she's always watching something on YouTube or on Facebook for some reason, as we all are. But I just thought she was just, being on the internet like most people do. And then she comes to me this one day, and then she starts pouring out all these ideas and what we're going to be doing and how everything's going to change. And it wasn't for the better immediately. It was like, hey, life's about to suck for about a year and a half. Um, this is what we're doing. And I felt betrayed, to be completely honest. This Dave Ramsey guy he was making changes in my life. Um, and at the moment, I didn't see it as for the better. I was just like, oh, he's going to take away, all the fun stuff, no more new TVs or no more video games or everything. All the fun's about to come to a stop. So I took offense to the whole situation. I was very standoffish. I work in the auto industry. There is a need to lend money. I still have varied opinions from Mr. Ramsey's principles, but there is a need to borrow money. It's just me personally. What I think is it's how you handle that situation. They provide a service, as McDonald's does. So if you eat too many cheeseburgers, you take advantage of someone's services. It may not be the best thing for you. That's the same thing with the lending industry. So um, it's best, in our opinion, currently to make the approach of spending with cash. It's the easiest way to go and the most safe. But going back to it, she had made a bunch of decisions without me that affected me directly. And I don't know about you guys, but um, it kind of like a punch in the stomach. I didn't like the whole situation. She's like, we're not going out to eat anymore. I'm like, well, I like food, obviously. We're not going to do this anymore. We're going to cut back on spending. We're going to start doing a budget. I'm like, oh, great. And that sort of means we're going to be fighting for the next year and a half. So that's kind of how I perceived it. Um, it how it got me on board was she plays her videos, and I'm usually watching TV, or maybe if I have any spare time to game, I'll be gaming. And um, she was listening to Dave Ramsey talk about one of the classes was on paying off the home early, and I'm like, well, that's stupid. Why would you want to do that? And um, the housing market's always secure, but how do you get your cash back? All that stuff. But he was talking about paying off the house, and then she made the comment of, well, hey, listen, imagine this. Imagine if we paid off the house, which I was like, that's stupid. But I was just entertaining her. She said, what if we paid off the house and then we sold this house and then bought another house? So I was like, wait, our house is X amount. And if we paid off the house, we have that entire amount as a down payment toward another house. So logically in my head, I was thinking, well, if I just double the amount of what this house is, I just went on Zillow and just looked at what our current house was times two, just price wise, seeing what you can get for it. I started seeing some pretty nice houses out there. I was like, our house times two equals really awesome house. I mean, single home. Currently, we're in a townhouse. Nothing wrong with townhomes, but um, I was looking at single homes with pools and this and that and all this amazing looking house. And I was like, well, that's awesome. I would love that. And so you're pretty much telling me we pay this house off early, we use this as a down payment, and we pretty much be paying the same exact mortgage for twice the house that we currently have. She was like, "Yep." I was like, "Oh, interesting." So that's what got me to start coming around. So how I would probably put this is that, I mean, if women, if you're looking to, get your husband on board and he's stubborn, which I was very stubborn, and I still have, like I said, I still have my issues with the whole program, but it's finding what motivates him. There is a motivating factor in everyone. We're humans. We all have something that drives our incentives. There's some kind of incentive that's out there that will get people motivated. Um, so that's what kind of did it for me. That idea of being in a bigger home. That was the big pie in the sky that I thought was never even possible. So then I started asking questions. I was grumpy still because it still meant no eating out and all that stuff. But I was just like, well, it's impossible to pay the house off early. And then she started going into the whole thing. So her and her little boyfriend Dave Ramsey um, started to explain the plan in more detail. But again, I was very standoffish. I was not happy to get on board with it. It still sucks. It does suck a little bit, when you're going through it and everyone's going out to have dinner, and you're like, no, I can't go. I'm like, well, why not? Well, because I'm out of my budget. It happened a couple times where friends from work would go out. I'm like, I can't go. And there's always a pride factor too, because my friends would be like, oh, well, no worry, I'll pay for you. I'm like, nah, you don't get it. I have money. I have money. I'm just, at this point, it's almost like a principle thing for me. I don't want to go take someone else's money when I have money. I'm just not spending mine. Just getting myself in a better position.
Yeah, so a big mistake of mine was, just doing a lot of research on my own and just expecting Ryan to just jump on board when he didn't learn the same things that I learned from watching Dave Ramsey or listening to Dave Ramsey. Um, so we did find a nice balance between like not eating out and eating out. When we first started the Dave Ramsey program, we actually set a budget of $100 a month to eat out on, and that was a balance for us. So we were like, all right, we could eat out, but we cannot spend over this amount. And there was a couple times we did go over that amount, but we, for the most part, we stayed within that budget. And when that was up, we did not eat out anymore. So that was for the most part. Lately, we've been eating out more because we're trying to support small businesses due to COVID. So we have been eating out more. So we did raise our budget for eating out. But you just have to find a healthy medium, like finding that healthy medium really helped us, and agreeing to a certain budget amount for eating out or for entertainment or for any type of spending you want to do, prior to actually doing the spending. It helps, and I believe it did help our marriage too with communication, because before that we weren't really communicating about money, and it was always a sore topic for us, and it would stress us out anytime we even talked about money. But after having, like, our $1,000 emergency fund, when certain things came up, it wasn't like a crisis for us, like certain, like our car would break down and we had enough money to cover it. And it was just like something we never experienced before, because we never had money put aside for emergency expenses like that. So just having that in place was just really a game changer for us.
Yeah. The side effects of taking doing the Dave Ramsey class is or his approach is having that certainty that you can handle something. I bought a fairly newer vehicle for myself, and pretty good. It was low mileage, couple years. But 3 months into it, the car starts puking oil. I had no warranty left on it. Um, I regret not buying one when I purchased mine, an extended service contract, but which Dave says is you should be self-insured. And at this point, I kind of was self-insured because $657 later, I had to fix my oil leak, and it sucked because I just bought this thing, and I bought it off myself. I'm working at a car dealership, and it's a good vehicle. I still love it. Um, but it was a very costly repair, and I was kind of paranoid to tell Christina because I was like, I just bought this thing, and she doesn't really like it. It's a Jeep Wrangler, Jeep people. Um, but it required a lot of money, and I just bought the thing, and she was just like, "Yeah, just pay for it." So we're not rich people. We're definitely not. Um, but there's something comfortable in the fact that knowing that I was able to pay for that, and it really didn't mess with anything. It didn't. It wasn't the end of the world for us. I mean, and then that story has happened for us repeatedly since we've became debt free. It's happened with our HVAC system. It happened with our car. It's happened a couple of times, and we were able to pay cash for these repairs. So, of course, it sets you back on your plan. But tell you what, it's a lot better than having to charge 4 different credit cards to make things good again. Um, so it's definitely made me a lot more comfortable in life. Having X amount of dollars in the bank account um, gives you a big like prideful. I don't know how to describe it, but it just gives you like this, not prideful,
Just a
but
sense of security. Like it
yeah.
really just makes you feel like you.
Doesn't like when I stutter.
What?
So you don't like when I stutter?
What do you mean?
It's a podcast. It's highly edited. We're not going to edit this one very much, guys. You're going to get my flavor on this. So
Well, your flavor. You just said we were debt free. We're not debt free.
we're
We
becoming
were debt free.
debt free. We're debt unfree, and then we're working toward debt free again.
Yes, we're still working to get
There's
out of
ebb
debt.
and flows of the debt.
Yes. um, Me myself with school debt, I got into debt to go back to school to get my bachelor's degree, and the Jeep, we financed that with a very large down payment. So we're still working on getting out of debt for those two things, but we're still working at it, like, and it's a work in progress, but we are definitely not debt free yet.
But it ain't so bad.
But yes, but we are much better now than we were in the past. So just starting to pay attention to your finances is just such it's just so important, and it's something that we didn't realize was so important before because we would just spend everything and not have a real plan for our money, and we didn't have an emergency fund in place. So when things happened, we didn't have money in our bank account to take care of them, and we would just put it on a credit card. Like in the past, if we had that oil change issue, it would have went straight to a credit card because there's no way we would have had $657 just laying around in a bank account. And um, there's just a sense of security in that, just having that emergency fund in place to cover some expenses that you um,
Oh,
didn't know happened.
yeah.
What?
Humility. That's the other thing I learned. It's a big one. The reason I had to interrupt her because it's a big one. Um, During the process, taught me a lesson. Um, it taught me a lesson of being content with what I have. Uh, Not worried about what everyone else is doing. Like I mentioned with the going out thing, everyone was going out. It really didn't bug me because in my head I was like, I'm doing something you guys ain't. In my head, like you guys are blowing your paychecks, going out after work to have a couple of drinks. I'm like that. At that time, I thought it was like frivolous. I'm like, that's just not. I got booze at home. If I want to go drink, I just drink at the house. So, um, it had me think about things differently. I don't worry about what everyone else is really doing anymore. There was times where, I go to my friend's house. He got this really nice house. It's brand new. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm still working toward those things, but I'm not going to be motivated by what someone else has. I want what I want, but I'm going to get to what I want in the method that's best for me. I'm not going to go do stupid things and, start racking up this, debt, because that's very much it's easy to do. So I learned a lesson in, just saying no to things. There's times where we'll be in BJ's and we're looking at, this 55,000-inch TV, and we're just looking at each other and we're like, should we buy it? Should we buy it? Should we buy it? And then we're like, nah, we don't need it. We got plenty of TVs at home. That's plenty of times that's happened to us. We have the cash now, but we're like, we got it. We have the big TV, we have the decent car. We're waiting to, get her a better car. She likes her little putt machines, um, it does. Everything that we have gets the job done. So, um, yeah. So we've learned to be happy with what we got. Um, and if we do want better, we have a different way of getting to that goal instead of just racking up more debt. Because the one thing about the debt snowball is that thing goes in both directions. You can pay to get out the debt snowball, and then you can get into the debt snowball, and that you can lose control of that very fast. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, it happens to a lot of people in this country. That is really easy to take advantage of, and it's really easy to lose control of it as well. So
Yes, definitely. It's so easy to just swipe a card or sign a piece of paper and instantly you're in thousands of dollars in debt. And that's something that when we were getting out of debt, we were realizing, wow, this is a lot of money and we need to be more careful with the purchases that we're making and the decisions we're making in life because it's just so easy to get into debt. But getting out of that is so much harder. And it just makes you realize, wow, signing that piece of paper for $20,000 at that time, how long it's going to take me to work that off, you know? So, like, um, it's just eye opening too. And I know we learned a lot when we took the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University course. We actually took that a couple maybe a year or so after we started paying off debt. We didn't do that right away because we felt like we learned a lot just from listening to Dave Ramsey's YouTube um, or radio station. But we actually learned a lot from the class. We learned about more about insurances and like what type of mortgage Dave Ramsey recommends, and that's the only type of debt he is okay with you getting into. I wouldn't say recommend, but that's the only type is a mortgage, a 15-year mortgage at that, at a fixed rate. So just learning about that was helpful. Um, I mean, I wouldn't say that we completely agree with that or are doing that in our current life. We we're most likely going to take a 30-year mortgage again, and I know he's against it, but that's how we would like to do it. Since interest rates are so low right now, we would feel more comfortable with a lower payment and just make an extra on that whenever we see fit. So that's the way we plan on doing that for our mortgage.
yeah, my personal beliefs on debt, like I said, I'm a creditor. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. It's a service that's being provided. Um, but we are much more cautious to, to sign away, all this money that we don't have anymore. We're much more cautious to do so. We look at life a lot differently than we used to. I have a 401k. I wish I knew these concepts a long time ago, because when I worked for another company, what they matched on 401k was insane, and I took no advantage of it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was all kinds of things like that. I was just like, 401k, it's just a bunch of numbers. Who knows what that is? It's a savings account. I'll be okay. And that's Social Security is going to be there and all this stuff. So I have a lot of misconceptions on how to take care of myself. But we've gotten to a point where we're pretty comfortable, and I feel that we're fundamentally okay in regards of our finances. So I couldn't tell you that that was the case before we started the program. So her and her little boyfriend, Dave Ramsey, as much as I despised him in the beginning, and I still don't agree with all of his ideas currently, but I mean, it did get us in the direction of us being, you know, financially stable. So um, I recommend that you guys continue watching Christina's YouTube. She's putting out a lot of good information out there, and she's going to be able to provide you with her personal anecdotes. Nothing is more valuable than learning from someone else's experiences. That's kind of
And
a less
mistakes.
and mistakes. So I've prided myself on watching everyone else make their mistakes and being able to make adjustments on those without having to do it myself. But in regards of being able to model off of people that were doing well financially, I didn't have that model. So it took a lot of mistake making to even realize I was even making those mistakes. So
Yeah, like just living paycheck to paycheck, that was that was pretty much the norm for us and the norm for a lot of people that we even know. Like everyone we knew was living paycheck to paycheck and that was just normal, and we didn't think twice about it. Before this program, we actually thought we were doing pretty well with money and we really weren't because we didn't have a real plan for retirement. We didn't have a real plan for
we had nice stuff.
getting out of well, we still have what we had. I mean, we still it just takes some time to get the knowledge you need to learn what it is you need to do next. And we're just taking it one step at a time. There's a lot out there that we don't know and we're just working on learning it. So I know we're gonna look more into investing, how to invest more, make the right decisions like that. We currently don't have a Roth IRA, so that's something that we want to look into having. But right now we're just taking it one step at a time, and hopefully by the end of next year we will be debt free, but we'll see because we have a lot planned for next year, so it's going to be kind of crazy.
Life's crazy, guys.
Life is crazy.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Subscribe or I'm coming for you.
No, he's not. Stop threatening people on my channel.
Find out where you live. And I'm gonna give you a high interest rate loan.
So yeah, I mean, I think the biggest part of it is just finding a happy medium between you and your spouse and just communicating, talking about it. And if there's something that you could do what I did too, is just listen to the podcast while he's around or listen to the radio station while he's around and let him pick up on things that you've picked up but he hasn't picked up yet. Breadcrumbs, exactly.
Do breadcrumbs.
Yes.
Here's the thing: if you stuff it down his throat, it's not gonna.
That doesn't work.
It's way too aggressive. It's not gonna work. If he's the kind of guy who's always listening, maybe you could just have it on in the background
while you're doing the dishes or like something like that,
Yeah, because I'm always listening to everything. She thinks I'm not paying attention. I think she's learned at this point that I'm listening all the time. She's doing a lot of schooling from home, and I'm pretty much getting my own degree at some points because I'm listening to all her classes. But yeah, leave in the breadcrumbs. Make him feel like it's his idea. I don't know.
Exactly.
But,
that's the art of being a woman.
Yeah, just make it think like he's the one discovering this because it's demasculating for a guy when his woman gets advice from another man, and then this man is now responsible for your whole life being changed around. So you got to look at it from that perspective. Guys like to feel like we're the ones that are going to be the saviors for everything. We've learned this in a lot of our church classes. We've went to a couple marriage classes, and it's just a feeling that guys have. Guys like to feel like heroes. We're problem solvers. We like to fix things. So when you go to someone else and you come up with all these great ideas, You're like, hey, guess what? You're insufficient as a man, so I found another man who's gonna get my life together. And I do the head bob because that's how Chrissy talks.
That's not what
But it's you got to understand where he's gonna be coming from. He's gonna come from a position of like, what the hell's going on here? So you're gonna change his life, but it's in a good way. He's just you gotta get him to come around slowly. Talk about the advantages of it. Maybe not necessarily focus on the downsides of it, like not being able to get the jet skis when you want to or stuff like that. So, I know a lot of people at work, they still have that you only live once mentality. You're not taking it to your grave, and I'm like, what if you guys do live till tomorrow? Because I plan on it. I don't know if you guys plan on living till tomorrow, but I do. So let's get ready for that as well. Today's awesome. Tomorrow's going to be even better.
Yes, definitely. So I think lost my train of thought.
She lost her train of thought.
I lost my train of thought.
But here's the thing. Just keep trying. Don't give up. Keep trying. Be less aggressive than you probably think you need to be. Just be subtle. Drop the little breadcrumbs here and there. Talk about, if we had the money. We gotta be careful with that too, because if we had the money, it turns in, we can just charge it. So be careful with that as well. But if we had a savings account, we can do this, or if we did that, we could probably afford this. If we didn't have any credit card bills, you know how much we're spending on credit card bills? We have $500 a month going out on credit card bills. If we didn't have any credit card bills, we can buy that flat screen in one just payment. So things like that. But just don't be like, hey, guess what? Everything's gonna change. Cut up the credit card, switch. It's really aggressive. So you got to get them on board slowly.
Yeah, so I found my train of thought. It was I found it. It was, even if you have to, say that you're taking this class for you, for yourself, which you should take it for yourself as well. But even if you have to tell your spouse, hey, there's this financial course that I want to take, and I would love if you came along with me. Even if you have to make it seem like you're taking it for you and you just need their support for you, that could be a starter too, to get them to go to the course. And then it's kind of like you're figuring out things together instead of one person figuring it out on their own, which you might know some of the stuff in the course, but just him hearing it himself, or your spouse hearing it himself, it'll just help them kind of have the overall picture of what's going on. I think that's another way that you can try to get your spouse to get on board.
So, a couple good tips for you guys. So, again, keep watching Christina's channel. She's putting out some good information.
Jeep fingers. Wait, I did it wrong. Jeep fingers.
You gotta hit stop.